This right here is my bullet journal from the last year. 2021 was the second year I properly bullet journaled, so I developed a bit of a system. As you can see, I used washi tape to bookmark the months of the year on the right, and I also used washi tape to bookmark at the top some of the important spreads that I flip to the most often. And I also have a plastic sticky note that I moved to my weekly spreads so I can quickly get to today's tasks. I have some annual spreads at the front of my journal, but for the most part I have a calendar for each month followed by my weekly spreads, which I like to keep pretty consistent because 1, it's easier to make, and 2, it's easier to track longer term projects from month to month. The exception to this would be during special occasions like exam season where I might have a different spread, but in general I've assigned each month a color, so when I'm flipping through it's easier to see the distinctions. And you can also see that as 2021 went on, my spreads got more empty, and that's for a couple of reasons. First of all, I was frankly burnt out this past year and just wasn't as motivated to keep updating my journal, but I was also working a 9 to 5 for the latter half of the year, so my schedule was basically dictated by my Google Calendar, and it wasn't as efficient to rewrite all of my meetings onto paper. So needless to say, I've experimented with a lot of different scheduling tools this year, from online calendars to phone reminders to obviously this journal, so I feel a lot better prepared to make a useful setup for the 2022 winter semester. My favorite spread though, which was kind of unexpected, was actually this Netflix tracker I made at the back of my journal, basically just to keep track of what TV shows and movies I watched each month. If you're anything like me, you go through like eras with the shows you watch. I'll watch one show and then watch all the YouTube interviews, stalk all of the actors' Instagrams, make fan art, and I basically become hyper fixated on that show for a month, so it was cool to look back on this spread and remember all of the shows that I watched and rewatched and became obsessed with. Alright, so let's dive into my 2022 bullet journal. The materials are basically the same ones I've used all of last year. I got the same bullet journal, but in a navy blue color to spice things up. And for color, I'm using Mildliners, and I really like how there's a highlighter and a fine tip side, and they're still going strong after 2 years, so I think they are worth the investment. For writing, I'm just using my trusty black Muji pen. I tried using Mildliners for a bit, but I don't know, it felt too much like writing with a skinny Sharpie, and they run out of ink really easily, I feel like, so it's just easier and it feels a lot more natural to use a pen. And I got some pattern washi tapes to make bookmarks and my trusty 30cm and 15cm rulers to make grids. I like to dedicate the first few pages of my bullet journal to annual longer term spreads. That way they're easier to access since I just have to flip to the front, and it also gives me a chance to like set the tone for the journal, you know, do some goal setting and reflection. Writing on the first page of a brand new journal is always the scariest part for me, so to ease into it I create this year in review page, which also helps me assign colors for all of the months and I can see how they look side by side. Personally, I'm just very anal about color coding. I like to give blue and green tones to colder months and pastels for the spring months, for example. I don't know, it's just aesthetically pleasing to me. This is also the page where I can make note of my friends' birthdays, holidays, and any other special occasions as well. I also like to doodle on the first page just because, so there's not much opportunity to doodle in my more content-heavy spreads anyway, so just enjoy this time lapse of my drawing. Alright, now that that first page is done, I'm going to make a 2022 spread for the next page. On the left, I'm just listing some of my 2022 goals so I can hold myself accountable. And on the right side of this page, I'm making sort of a highlight reel for 2022. Maybe this is just a forgetful person problem, but I feel like I can never grasp how much I get done in a year, especially by the time when I hit the summer. I can't even remember what the beginning of the year was like. So I keep this page empty just to jot down memories, accomplishments, or any fun things that happened that were the highlight of that month. Next up is my winter semester schedule, which is a place where I can write down lecture times, professors, and course codes all in one page. Pretty straightforward, but I can't tell you how many times a friend says something like, "Oh, I'm in lecture 102, what about you?" And I have no clue because I go off of the lecture times, not the codes. So then I have to open up my schedule all over again and see which lecture I'm enrolled under. Anyways, this spread helps solve that first world problem. This next spread is my own invention and probably my most used one. Basically, you know how when you get a syllabus and you see all of your assignments, midterms, exams, and how much they're worth? I like to write all of my marks down in here as I get them back, so I don't have to go back online and fish around for marks when I'm frantically calculating what I need to get on the final. And once again, because I love me some color coding, this is also where I can assign specific highlighter colors for what courses I have, so later on in my monthly and weekly spreads, I'll make sure to use those same colors. And with that, it is time to draw out my January monthly and weekly spreads, which are pretty straightforward. The monthly spread is just the calendar, and on the following page, I like to make a habit tracker and an exercise plan. With this tracker, I mark things like the days I drink coffee or do my skincare routine, but also trivial things like when I wash my hair, which I know sounds like overkill, but I like to optimize when I wash my hair so that it's fresh for a special event, for example. My workout routine is also dependent on when I need to wash my hair, so anyways, you get the point. I just keep track of it all here. My weekly spreads are pretty simple since I have to make them the most often, but I basically just drag the Mildliner along the page to separate each page from Monday through Sunday. But we'll come back to these pages later and make them a bit more detailed. And now flipping to the really back of my journal, I'm just going to recreate the same Netflix spread. And on the other side, I'm making something similar, but to track the books I read throughout the year. So you can see that I have columns here for the title, author, the number of pages in the book, as well as the date I started and the date I finished the book. And last but not least, to finish off my weekly spreads for the month of January, I'm just writing the times 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on the left side of each date so I can keep a little mini schedule, and that way I can also write down any future meetings. All that's left is to add some washi tape bookmarks for the start of the month of January, and the spread is complete.